Hello folks, Why Guy here again. Welcome to my home on this very beautiful spring day. Got to start splitting firewood already for next winter, even though summer isn't even here yet. Got to start now. So if any of you want to show up and come and give me a hand, I would really appreciate that. The name of this video is called The Why Guy Doesn't Need Man's Forgiveness to Be Forgiven. This will make sense in a moment. Okay, I'm not being pious here and egotistic, not at all, okay? Because someone wanted me to clarify that passage in John, where was it? 20:23. That was referring to giving authority to, or it's referred to as giving authority. The passage didn't say that, okay? But it's referred by religious circles that it's giving authority to apostles, priests, and bishops, because it was written in the Latin-based Bible, quote, "If you forgive anyone's sins, their sins are forgiven. If you don't forgive them, they are not forgiven," close quote. Now that's from a perverted Latin-based Bible, so don't forget that, okay? So a whole lot of understanding is missing, or I should say there's a lot of misunderstanding to this verse. While a horrible amount of conjecture and conclusion jumping has taken place. So why can't I do that? I want to do that. I want to jump to some conclusions too, all right? But when I'm going to do it, but I'm going to use a Koine Greek rendering of that verse instead. Quote, "If you folks should send away the mistakes of certain ones," remember that term, certain ones, okay? "They have been sent away for them. If you would continue holding fast and controlling those of certain ones, they have been and continue being held fast and controlled," close quote. I hope this wind isn't rumbling the microphone too terribly much. Anyway, I almost blew my camera stand over here in a moment. Folks, it's a huge theological leap to assume that this passage that I just shared is giving anyone authority to forgive sins on behalf of God. It's a huge leap, yet that's exactly what has been assumed in some Christian circles. So notice how it's written, certain ones, and not just anyone or everyone. That's a huge hint, folks, right there. So if this passage is referring to specific individuals, then there's 4 questions that need to be asked, in my opinion, okay? My 4 questions. 1, who are these certain ones? And 2, what is the issue that causes them to continually hold fast to something? Okay? 3, what is our involvement with what they're holding fast to? It seems by this verse as if we have an option to contribute or not, right? 4, what is it that's controlling them? And again, are we being a help or a hindrance? This is how I understand the issue presented in this passage verse. And, in this passage, verse is it giving anyone any authority to forgive sins or not on behalf of God. I hope this is making sense. Before I offer my opinion to these 4 questions, I have to apply some critical thinking by asking, okay, by referring to, this being on God's behalf, this forgiveness, all that kind of stuff. Why on earth would Jesus instruct his apostles, or any of us, to forgive someone that his willingness to be murdered on the cross has already accomplished for all of creation? Okay? That's about as stupid as telling someone that you would like a hot cup of coffee while holding a steaming mug of coffee in your hand. I know that's a bad analogy, but at least you understood it, right? It just simply doesn't make sense. So, the first question of who are these certain ones? Well, here's a possible answer. Probably those people that you haven't forgiven. Or me. Or the apostles. 2, what is the issue that causes them to continue holding fast? Or what are they holding fast to? However you might want to read it. In my opinion, they don't feel or think that they're forgiven. and they're holding fast to a form of guilt. So, 3, what is our involvement with what they're holding fast to? You know, those specific people, those individuals spoken about in the Koine Greek rendering, you know, they probably know that you're holding a grudge, and they probably think that God is too. And it seems as if we have an option to forgive or not. So in my opinion, if we choose not to tell them the truth, that they are forgiven, it causes them to hold fast to their guilt. 4, what is it that's controlling them? You know, here's a possible answer. Always wondering what they can do about it, along with the possible guilty conscience that they're holding on to. You know, folks, have I read too much into this passage? Or should I just simply agree that mere men have the authority to forgive sins that Christ already paid for? You decide. Okay? It's a fact that a large percentage of pastors, priests, and teachers are controlling people. That's that word, control, right? Controlling people by contributing to their guilty conscience. Not only that, but people are going to hold fast to their shame and guilt because they're continually being reminded of the sin in their lives. You know, talked about even more so than what Jesus did about it. Excuse me. So, how many sermons do people have to listen to in order to be convinced of what I'm saying is true? All right? Regardless, this is what I believe it means by this phrase, quote, they have been and continue being held fast and controlled. That's what I think that's what it means. So all of us, including the apostles at the time, have the ability to choose to continue to remind people of their sins or not, regardless if it's us who were the ones that were offended. Is that making sense? Or we can continue to remind people of God's grace, His great love, how He's not holding anything against them, and neither are we. You know, that's easier said than done. I realize that. And coming close to a close in this video, also we can encourage them to stop believing in the lie that that God is keeping a record for eternal punishment's sake. Okay? And encourage them to repent of thinking that they are unforgiven. Isn't that the good news message? Okay? In turn, people who do that repenting, they're so grateful that their lives will eventually change to one of gratitude that's pleasing to God, to a God of love. Okay? That's how I see it. Everyone needs to know in our minds that we are forgiven. We need to know that. We're made that way. We're designed that way. Okay? In other words, all need to repent and know that we're forgiven and all debt has been canceled. Quote, having canceled the certificate of debt consisting of decrees against us, which was hostile to us. No kidding. And He has taken it out of the way, having nailed it to the cross. Colossians 2:14. So if they, the apostles, or any of us who know that we're forgiven, if we tell people that their sins are forgiven as well, we're simply speaking the truth to their minds, all right? So that they can repent, meaning to change their mind, and agree and walk in forgiveness. In my opinion, this John 20:23 passage has absolutely nothing to do with someone having the personal power to forgive or not for God. Let's do this for God. I forgive you. Oh, I almost did a symbol. I'm sorry. No offense to my Catholic friends. Jeez. Anyway, folks, this kind of theology is usually, and I don't even have usually in my notes, because I can't judge someone's, hello, Kia, someone's heart and their motive, but it's usually ego-driven. It's man-invented, power-hungry, religious, controlling bullshit, I think. That slanders the completed work of Jesus. So, of course, that's only my opinion as well. What a cute little girl. Oh, let me see. Is she getting any bigger from the last time that I picked her up? I showed you folks. My little Kia girl. Anyhow, well, she's content up here. Scroll down to the Show Me More section. There's 7 links there, soon to be 8. I'm on the last chapter of my newest book. And if you haven't given me one of these already, would you please consider giving me a like on this video as in a thumbs up? I'd really appreciate that. It helps others. It causes the computer for YouTube to, the more of these, the more people are, the more it shows up, I guess, you know, in searches and stuff like that. So I've been told. And also look me up on Facebook under a group called the Y Guy Group, a private group. But I also go by an avatar name of John Anthony Jones. Look me up there as well. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel, consider doing so. All right. And what else? What else? What else? You can continue. You could consider supporting me with Patreon or Coffee. I left links for those down at Show Me More section. And I thank you for viewing.